Welcome to another episode of the Hammers Academy YouTube channel. Today we're going to have a look at how David Moyes used his wingbacks to effectively counter Pep's attacking options at the weekend. So we're going to start with just the formations and how they sort of set up, assuming that Manchester City have the ball here, as they did for a large percentage of the time. But because it's Pep, this is the formation they kind of detailed on paper, but it doesn't really mean that much. Pep likes his players to be quite freeform, flowing throughout the pitch, and the players themselves have own preferences. So if we cycle on a little bit here, you can see that although Sterling was detailed as a winger in this match, he's going to look to be inside when he receives the ball. Although him and Mahrez are very much the inside forward positioning on wingers, Sterling likes to receive the ball a little bit more centrally and try and isolate his centre back there. Mahrez is very happy to be isolating a fullback and use his ability to kind of cut in, use his left foot to whip in a shot, or get down the line and provide for his teammates in that respect. So by the time you allow them to actually get set up properly, it's Cancelo on the left-hand side who's really offering that width and wide man option, and Walker is being dragged in from the right-hand side to help distribute the ball a little bit more. As one of our other contributors actually said, he looked more like he was playing sort of a right central defensive midfielder during the game, and frequently he was found further infield than we maybe saw him in his Spurs days. But what that allowed Moyes to do was alter the shape of West Ham's defensive setup. Now, usually we'd want to try and keep things as symmetrical as possible. Most managers set up in a way that, although the roles might vary across the pitch, there is a bank where it is even. Moyes didn't do that. For the first 20-25 minutes of the match, it was quite... we saw Fornals quite frequently move into the middle, just in front of Rice and Souček, which meant that Masuaku kicked up the pitch a little. So what you ended up with was actually a shape that looked a bit more like this. So you've still got Souček on Gundogan, Rice on Silva, but now Fornals is sitting on Rodri in the middle. Bowen is trying to come in here and act as another pressure point, trying to stop that ball out to Cancelo. That was frequently their most productive avenue. Sterling coming inside onto Balbuena and Cancelo having a go at Kufau down the wing. But where we really excelled was down this right hand side, with Walker playing in this defensive midfielder on the right hand side kind of role. Masuaku was able to push up. Now, by pushing up here, we've cut out the ball to Mahrez. It has to be a very impressive pass to get to him, and if that is the case, you can sit back. But it then allows Cresswell the freedom here, and it kind of forces them to not get the ball into Mahrez's feet. Mahrez is exceptionally dangerous when he has the ball at his feet. He's a very good dribbler. This time, both at Leicester and City in the Premier League, he's able to score goals or create goals from this position. So Moyes, by isolating it, meant that Mahrez's danger was effectively snuffed out. Now, this only worked because there was no Foden or De Bruyne playing. We've got Gundogan, Rodri, Silva here. I would have thought last year or year before Silva would have been able to do this, but he's kind of fallen off a little bit. Foden and De Bruyne have the ability to either drag their man and create space, or find space where others can't in the central. And you saw Foden do that as soon as he came on at half-time. When Sterling went more central, Foden occupied this space in between Kufau, Balbuena and Souček, and at times was just completely alone. And it's that punishing of space that City really lacked. But fair play to Moyes. Until about half an hour in, Man City didn't have a game plan to deal with it. So the way they actually managed to deal with it was a couple of times they actually got Walker on the ball driving towards Cresswell, which meant Masuaku had to drop off, pick up Mahrez, and they were then back even. It's still a very lopsided formation, and West Ham are quite happy to let Walker be the danger. If Walker is the most dangerous man on the Man City side, you're doing well, even though he is a very good fullback and very good attacking fullback. Given the attacking riches they have, Moyes was exceptionally well. He thought his game plan was exceptionally well thought through, nullifying the Mahrez and Sterling, and meant that the wide balls from Cancelo into Aguero were their biggest option, and Cancelo trying to get balls in as good as he is, Aguero against two or three centre backs in the air. Again, David Moyes taking that chance. He doesn't want the ball on the ground with Aguero in the penalty area. Now, the second way that David Moyes used his wing-backs to great effect against Manchester City, and increasingly in other matches as well, is in attack. Now, with Fornals playing on the left wing in particular, we don't have a wide presence. Jarrett Bowen, again, is an inside forward on the right-hand side, but Fornals traditionally as a number 10 wants to be playing with the game in front of him and around him rather than all to one side. So he will move in fairly often, allowing Masuaku to get down the left. Now, it's actually Aaron Cresswell who's been doing most of the damage in terms of assists, crosses, and the like. But it's because Masuaku gets forward and then allows Cresswell to have a fairly pressure-free cross. Things he hasn't had in the past. Cresswell last season had more touches in the final third than any other West Ham player and came away with 0 assists. Now, I think that's because David Moyes has gone, okay, you only have one decision to make. The ball is going to be rolled back to you, and you have to decide to pass it infield or swing across him. Now, the beauty of this is that Cresswell is exceptionally good at crossing the ball. He's not actually very good on the ball. So, by limiting the options, Moyes has just refined Cresswell. We see here in this setup, we've assumed that in the flip from the previous situation, West Ham are on the attack. This is kind of the setup that you would see. Rice hanging in the middle there. Souček's quite far forward. He tends to then potentially act as a double pivot if the ball comes across to help spread the play. But here, Fornals is playing the ball out for Masuaku to chase into that corner. Now, when we get to this position, Walker's main priority, and really only priority, is to stop a cross coming in. Garcia and Diaz have to worry about Antonio with the ball, and therefore it's up to Mahrez to stop the ball coming back to Cresswell. Now, most wingers, even in the Premier League, are not defenders. They're not very defensively aware, so therefore you can isolate and really take advantage of the space that creates. Fornals is on Rodri here. Rodri can't move across into this part of the pitch. Masuaku will just lay the ball into Fornals. So therefore, we're tucked up there. And so what happens is Cresswell makes a run. Mahrez will track back. His biggest worry at this point is that Cresswell is going to come inside. So he's going to try and cut off here. Rodri may move across in order to try and stop the most obvious ball. Maybe a ball into feet or the like. But what this really does is it creates an issue. Manchester City have to make a decision. Now, you have two options as the defence here. If you're the defender, you can press up. Now, if you push up against a athletic, quick striker like Antonio, you then run the risk of a ball from deep, especially someone like Cresswell who can whip it in, delivering a pass to Antonio with absolutely no defence around him, no pressure on him. So there's a real worry about that. If Antonio wasn't as quick, and we're going to probably see that with Allaire, this tactic isn't going to be quite as effective. Allaire, although he's very good in the air, and we've seen some acrobatics from him as well, he's not as quick off the mark, so the defenders don't have to worry about being potentially too tight to him. They can just keep him there, knowing that if he starts to get ahead of them, they can probably catch him. Even in this space, they'll probably be tight. Antonio would be away from you before he had a chance to turn. So in this situation, Antonio ends up with the ball. If we go back and assume that Man City don't press, what you actually create is static defenders. These defenders are very easy to move into and attack in terms of heading. We saw against Leicester as the ball came in, that the defenders had to really watch for the run of Souček and Antonio, Fornal, allowing Antonio to get the ball. So therefore, Souček makes this run. Again, it doesn't really matter if Gundogan goes with him or any defensive midfielder goes with him. What you have here is a situation that defenders do not want to deal with. And simply by exploiting the fact that wingers are not going to track back, and even if Mahrez is back here, that ball can still come in. That ball can still get crossed in. And I try not to say too much bad about Mahrez here, because this is just an example using the players that I had on the pitch. But it's most wingers in the Premier League will not cover that. And that's something that Moyes is really trying to exploit. And by doing that, it really allows Cresswell to shine. Against City, we saw it was Kufau, Souček chasing down the lost cause, rolling it back. And then by the time it crossed in, there was no way the Man City defence could deal with the strength of Antonio. He was set in his good position and they couldn't get round him to clear the ball. And a wonderful finish from Antonio gave us the lead and gave us the chance of the points that the point that we took away. So real big kudos to Moyes for exploiting the formation, and I'm hoping that we start to see some more interesting uses of the wing backs as we play maybe not top six sides. There will be people clamouring to go to four at the back again, but I think this really helps cover the defensive deficiencies of Masuaku and Cresswell, whilst really allowing their attacking abilities to shine as well.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter @Academy Hammers and subscribe to the Hammers Academy YouTube channel.